Did you know one of the most emotional moments in It's a Wonderful Life almost wasn't captured on camera? A single, unplanned moment during a chaotic scene was a true accident. What's the real story behind this infamous blooper? Get ready to uncover the hidden truth. Was it a clever editing choice or a happy mistake? In this video, we'll reveal shocking behind-the-scenes details, bloopers, and unexpected moments from this iconic film. Stay tuned to discover the untold secrets behind the scenes that almost didn't make it. 19. Zuzu's name, Zuzu Bailey's name, in It's a Wonderful Life carries with it a piece of Americana. Frank Capra, ever perfectionist, chose the name not for whimsy, but because it was deeply grounded in real life. Zuzu is the name of a popular cookie in the 1940s called Zuzu Ginger Snaps, beloved by children and frequently found in the homes of everyday families. Capra handed the name to young actress Carolyn Grimes as a quiet but authentic touch, one that would lend warmth and relatability to the character. The choice may seem like a small detail, but it subtly tied Bedford Falls to the real world, a place where the lives of its residents could be understood, familiar, and cherished by moviegoers. Zuzu's name will become one of the film's most endearing elements, especially during the moment when George Bailey, desperate to find meaning and hope, calls out to his daughter with a heartfelt exclamation, "Zuzu, my little ginger snap." This tender moment in the film is loaded with emotional weight, as George's love for his family is the driving force behind his sacrifices. The name Zuzu rings true because it comes from something as simple and real as a father lovingly calling his child by a nickname derived from everyday life, making it all the more meaningful. If you think this blooper is wild, wait until you see the next one. 18. Frank Capra's return from World War II. Frank Capra's post-World War II return mainly affected the making of It's a Wonderful Life. Capra's wartime experiences gave the film clarity and emotional depth, which were the main traits of a film he saw as a huge moral issue. Capra, at the peak of his career, quit Hollywood and at the age of 44, joined the Army, making his war government films the main occupation of his life. It was not only about movie star patriotism. It was a compelling urge to a large cause that mostly drove him. Capra came back from the war a man no longer the one who could easily fill the theaters with his light comedies. Definitely no longer a fun guy. He felt like he was carrying the burden of the horrors he had witnessed and the human suffering he had filmed. In fact, this point of view made him go for a story that was based on the hardships of everyday people who were trying to keep hope and goodness alive in the midst of tremendous adversity. Capra's emotional scars from the war were very much present in It's a Wonderful Life. The film, dealing with the basic human theme of the worth of every single human life, was in a way a reflection of Capra's own life struggle and his desire to portray stories of common people who went through hardships but still managed to remain kind. Capra was able to help the audience feel the intensity of this suffering through his part in directing George Bailey's character by imparting such wartime distress into the main character, and thus gaining the feeling of emotional genuineness that was so strong and wide-ranging with the audience. It was through small-town life, along with daily battles of common people, that Capra told a story of triumph that would be heard by people at different times, always the same, teaching that from the hardest times, stories of hope and redemption might spring. 17. Writer conflicts. The creation of It's a Wonderful Life was not without its conflicts, particularly when it came to the film's writers. Frances Goodrich and Albert Hackett, a married writing duo known for their elegant and sharp storytelling, were brought in by Frank Capra to help shape the script. However, Capra's intense and sometimes difficult working style created tension during the writing process. Meetings often turned heated, with Capra's persistent demands clashing with the writer's more measured approach. The final straw came when Capra addressed Frances Goodrich in a manner that she felt was dismissive, calling her "my dear woman," a phrase that left her feeling frustrated and undervalued. This tension eventually led to a dramatic moment during a script meeting when Goodrich, tired of the constant friction, stood up, declared, "We're finished right now," and walked out with Albert Hackett at her side. Despite their departure from the project, Goodrich and Hackett's names remain on the credits, a testament to their contributions, even though their influence on the film was much diminished by their exit. The conflict between Capra and the writers left a lasting impact on the film, as it served as a reminder that even the most beloved and enduring classics are forged through moments of struggle and creative discord. The tension behind the scenes gave it a wonderful life and added layer of depth and complexity, showing that great art often emerges from challenging and imperfect processes. 16. The kiss between George and Mary, the iconic kiss between George Bailey and Mary Hatch in It's a Wonderful Life, is one of the most striking scenes in the movie, and its making was not ordinary at all. Frank Capra, a director known for his meticulousness and his quest for the most genuine and the most emotive portrayals, wanted this kiss to be completely real, and he wanted to see the feelings and the reluctance involved in it. To this end, Capra made a bold move by operating the sound stages in a pair, one which was on the phone between the two actors, Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed, standing close together and straining with their hands. At the same time, on a different sound stage far away, Frank Albertson, in the role of Sam Wainwright, was providing his voice through a real phone line. Along with this unusual method came real-life pauses, breaths, and tension that were allowed to travel back and forth between the two sets, which increased the element of surprise in the moment. The climax was a kiss that was not rehearsed, planned, or cleaned. It was simply real. This painfully honest moment was not simply a very good technical accomplishment. It was a very embodiment of Capra's vision in his art. The kiss between George and Mary was not simply a case of two characters having a romantic embrace. It was about portraying the vulnerability, the yearning, and the tentative expectation of two people facing the future together. By letting the scene take its course naturally, Capra was able to present a moment to the audience that was like a flash of real-life electric shock, full of doubt and desire. It was an intimate and perfect moment of love and potential in the hands of Stewart and Reed. 15. Silent Snowfall, the Snowfall in It's a Wonderful Life is not only a symbol of the film's nostalgic, heartwarming atmosphere, but also a technical marvel in cinema history. Frank Capra wanted the snow in Bedford Falls to feel authentic and hushed, not the loud, crunchy piles of painted cornflakes that had been used in many films up until that point. Capra's desire was to create a winter that felt like a memory, soft and peaceful, almost tangible in its quiet beauty. To achieve this, the effects team at RKO Laboratories worked with fire extinguisher fluid mixed with soap and water, which was then blasted through giant wind machines to create a gentle, realistic snowfall. This mixture, which totaled over 6,000 gallons, made the snow fall silently, giving the entire scene an ethereal, almost otherworldly quality. For the first time in Hollywood history, snow in a movie was silent, and it was a revolutionary moment for film production. The quiet snowfall added a layer of intimacy and serenity to the film, helping to underscore the emotional weight of George Bailey's journey. The Academy even recognized this achievement, awarding RKO's effects team a scientific and technical award for their innovative method. The snow in It's a Wonderful Life didn't just create a visual atmosphere. It became an emblem of the film's theme, capturing a moment of peace amid the chaos of life. 14. Bedford Falls was built from scratch. Bedford Falls, the town in It's a Wonderful Life, was an essential part of the story. RKO Studios devoted the entire effort 2 months to creating a 4-acre set that consisted of 75 buildings, a working factory area, and a lively main street. The set included live oak trees, 5 blocks of shops, and even a few trained pigeons that were allowed to roam around, thereby achieving a very realistic and bustling atmosphere. Every single aspect of the scene, starting from the layout of the town right to the location of the snow machines on the rooftops, was meticulously planned to draw the audience into George Bailey's small-town world. Capra shot this set like a documentarist, depicting the core of ordinary life as George's story was played out on these streets. Bedford Falls was not only a fictitious location on a Hollywood backlit anymore. It turned out to be the very embodiment of community and connection. Gradually, the town started asserting its existence, with Seneca Falls, New York, eventually claiming it as their own. The town had become such a lively festival place that celebrating as if George Bailey was going to come to the town square was a regular thing. What began as a movie set turned out to be nothing less than an everlasting symbol of the film's themes of optimism, self-sacrifice, and the value of community, which eventually echoed very strongly with the audience that had accepted Bedford Falls as though it were a real place. 13. The slap scene between George Bailey and Mr. Gower. The slap scene between George Bailey and Mr. Gower in It's a Wonderful Life remains one of the film's most emotionally charged moments. In the scene, young George, played by Robert J. Anderson, confronts Mr. Gower, the grieving man, who, in his sorrow and guilt, accidentally poisons a prescription. The intensity of the scene is grounded in real, unscripted emotion, as actor H.B. Warner, portraying Mr. Gower, arrived on set drunk to authentically portray the character's breakdown. The slap, which wasn't choreographed, landed with real force, leaving Anderson with a split ear and tears in his eyes. These weren't the fake tears of a child actor, but the raw, honest emotions of a real child reacting to the pain of the situation. What makes this moment so powerful is the unintentional authenticity that came from the accident. After the slap, Warner immediately apologized, sobbing and embracing Anderson, explaining that he meant no harm. Capra chose to keep the take, not because it was violent, but because it was genuine. The scene encapsulated the real cost of grief, guilt, and mercy, with Warner's raw performance giving the audience a powerful glimpse into the emotional struggles of his character. The moment is not just a slap, but a reminder of the deep human connection that Capra wanted to convey throughout the film. 12. No sequel for It's a Wonderful Life. A sequel to It's a Wonderful Life was hinted at in 2013, along with the new title It's a Wonderful Life. The rest of the story. The sequel was going to be the story of George Bailey's grandson, who would learn about the importance of his life, thus connecting again to the themes of the original. But the first reaction to this proposal was negative from both film historians and casual viewers alike. What had been built with great care and perfectly concluded in the original film was a universe of Bedford Falls, and to many, the idea of visiting it again was absolutely unacceptable. The story of George's redemption was one that humanity should not only keep, but also preserve, as it has a unique and timeless message. Frank Capra's world was a finished product, and no matter how skilled the hands at work it might be, the result would always be a disservice to his legacy. The blowback was so fierce that Paramount, the studio responsible for the original, intervened to prevent the project from proceeding. They made a public announcement stating that no sequel could be made without their consent. The intervention resulted in the quick demise of the sequel, leaving nothing behind but headlines and anger. Since then, the notion of a sequel has been put away, with no further attempt being made to return to George Bailey's universe. It's a Wonderful Life is still recognized as a classic that stands alone, a narrative so thorough that it continues to be protected by its audience like a family heirloom, untouched and unrefined by the interpretations of modern times. 11. A copyright mistake resurrected the film It's a Wonderful Life was initially considered a failure upon its release in 1946, and for nearly 3 decades, it was largely forgotten. The film struggled at the box office and failed to recoup its costs, leaving many to view it as a disappointment. However, in 1974, a seemingly minor clerical mistake led to an unexpected revival. The film's copyright wasn't properly renewed, which resulted in it slipping into the public domain. As a result, TV stations across the country, looking for holiday programming, began airing It's a Wonderful Life for free. What was initially seen as a failure by the industry was now accessible to anyone, anytime. The unintentional exposure allowed the film to reach millions of households, particularly during the holiday season. Television stations aired it constantly, sometimes showing it every day from Thanksgiving to New Year's. Over time, the film's frequent broadcasts turned it into a beloved classic, and audiences began to embrace its themes of hope, redemption, and the value of life. This accidental resurgence transformed It's a Wonderful Life from a forgotten flop into one of the most cherished holiday films of all time. What started as a simple copyright oversight became the catalyst of the film's enduring legacy, and its place in American holiday tradition was solidified forever. 10. The movie's initial failure, the film It's a Wonderful Life, premiered in December 1946, and the hopes were high, but the movie didn't live up to them. Even though Frank Capra had returned from the war, and he had the support of big names like Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed, the film had a hard time at the box office. Hollywood had expected nothing less than a radiant success, especially considering Capra's prior successes, and the film's release during Christmas, which was thought to be the perfect timing for it. Nevertheless, It's a Wonderful Life was up against strong competition from other Oscar-nominated films, and the public was not quite ready for a holiday film that mixed happiness with sorrow. The film's portrayal of complex emotions, which at times could be dark and disturbing, turned critics and viewers into 2 groups. Some appreciated its heart, while others considered it too sentimental or even excessively melancholic. The mixed reviews were one of the factors that led to the film's commercial failure. The two opposing forces had a great impact on the fate of the movie. The movie quickly lost its box office numbers, and Liberty Films, the independent studio that made it, was unable to recuperate from the monetary loss. What was intended to be the opening of a new chapter for Studio Capra actually marked its swift downfall. It's a Wonderful Life was for many years labeled as a disappointment, the realization of its potential only coming forth much later. The irony of the situation, how a picture decrying the goodness of life and giving chances nearly extinguished the futures of its creators, proved to be a powerful reminder how time and viewpoint could turn a misunderstood piece into a classic that lasts forever. Don't blink or you might miss the next It's a Wonderful Life blooper. It's epic. 9. The film's lasting impact on the creators, It's a Wonderful Life left an indelible mark on its creators, profoundly shaping the lives and careers of those involved. For Jimmy Stewart, the film became a deeply personal reflection of his own experiences, especially his time serving in World War II. Stewart poured his own emotional struggles and quiet heartbreak into the character of George Bailey, a man who finds his worth in the lives of others. Stewart later stated that It's a Wonderful Life was his favorite film, not because of its commercial success, since it had initially flopped, but because it resonated with him on a personal level. The film allowed him to express a vulnerability that mirrored his own journey, making it more meaningful than any of his other cinematic accomplishments. Similarly, for Donna Reed, It's a Wonderful Life marked a pivotal moment in her career, turning her from a relatively unknown actress into a celebrated leading lady. Her portrayal of Mary Bailey became iconic, and Capra's belief in her ability to ground the story with warmth and sincerity made her performance unforgettable. Frank Capra, too, regarded the film as his finest achievement, calling it the greatest film anybody ever made. The personal connection that each of the filmmakers had with the story transformed the movie from just another project into a lifelong legacy, one that would continue to shape their identities and careers for years to come. 8. Bert and Ernie's names Bert and Ernie's names from It's a Wonderful Life have been so intertwined with popular culture that their connection to the iconic duo from Sesame Street made it even more so. For a long time, people speculated that the Muppets' names were after the two friendly characters in Frank Capra's film, and they had every reason to believe it. But then, not only did the naming of these characters turn out to be simpler than what people had imagined, but it was actually coincidental. As per writer Jerry Jewell, the characters' names in It's a Wonderful Life were absolutely coincidental. Moreover, the characters were named based on their looks. One resembled Ernie and the other was a Bert. Nonetheless, the tale lived on for most of the time, a fact partly due to the characters' innate association. Bert the good-natured cop, and Ernie the easygoing taxi driver, although their parts were small, played very significant roles in George Bailey's life. Their names, together with their characteristics of kindness and helpfulness, made them unforgettable right from the start. The Muppet creators, even if not directly influenced by Capra's film, welcomed the coincidence, thus giving an extra layer of confounding love to It's a Wonderful Life. 7. The bank run scene in It's a Wonderful Life is one of the film's most memorable moments, capturing the tension, fear, and desperation that accompany financial collapse. As word spreads that the savings and loan is in trouble, anxious townspeople rush to the bank, demanding their money. George Bailey, portrayed by Jimmy Stewart, stands at the counter, trying to calm the crowd and prevent chaos. The scene is a striking portrayal of the fragility of human emotions during crisis, as the townspeople, who had once trusted George, now fear losing everything. An interesting moment of authenticity occurs when actress Ellen Corby, playing Miss Davis, is instructed by Capra to ask for $17.50 instead of the originally scripted $17. The seemingly small change in the line caught Jimmy Stewart off guard, causing a genuine moment of surprise and laughter. Stewart's reaction, along with the spontaneous kiss he gives Miss Davis on the cheek, was unscripted, adding an unexpected and heartwarming layer to the scene. 6. Donna Reed's unlikely casting the selection of Donna Reed for the film It's a Wonderful Life was nothing less than a stroke of luck, because she was not a major actress at the time when she was picked for the part of Mary Bailey. Initially, Frank Capra had thought about Jean Arthur for the part, but because of scheduling clashes, she was unable to take the role. During this unexpected break, Capra came across Reed, a newcomer in the industry who was not very popular yet. Although she was not a big name in the film industry, her true warmth and stability were the qualities that made her the perfect candidate for the role of Mary. Reed's performance on the set will be one of the most crucial aspects of the film's emotional quotient. The actor playing George Bailey, Jimmy Stewart, found in Reed's Mary a kind of emotional anchor, especially during their famous phone call. The actor's shaky breath and the actress's placid demeanor in this particular moment wonderfully conveyed the fragility and the optimism of young love. She, through her performance, brought to the film a simple yet profound truth. Love is not loud. Rather, it is patient, firm, and abiding. 5. George Bailey's actor switch when It's a Wonderful Life was in the early stages of production. Frank Capra envisioned a different kind of leading man for George Bailey. Initially, the role was meant for Cary Grant, whose suave charm seemed to fit the character. Henry Fonda's name was also floated,